Welcome to session 4. So far we've looked at corporate culture, entrepreneurship, and innovation. Now when a business is really serious about innovation, they put in an innovation management system. An innovation management system can be either formal or informal. Informal systems are in-house systems designed and run informally. It's for those who don't really want to be too fussy or formal about their IMS. A formal system, such as described in ISO 56002, however, is similar in form to ISO 9000 or 14000. Everything is documented and formalized, and responsibilities assigned. In my experience, I found the formality of such systems to be a turn-off to many people. It's just too much bother for some. Senior managers like to have the certification on their logo and communications documents, but never seem to find the time to attend review meetings or customer complaints meetings, etc. So whether one adopts a formal or informal approach is up to the individual companies involved. Basic IMS system has two sides: the innovation side, which we've covered most of up to here, and the venture side. This is the side that turns the business case provided by the innovation team into actual products and services. The IMS takes in total 3 teams: the innovators, the implementers, and a steering committee who control the funding and adoption of ideas. ISO 56002 was first published in October 2019. It is a guidance document for the moment, and similar in style and layout to ISO 9000 and ISO 14000 for those familiar with those standards. As mentioned previously, the most difficult thing will be getting buy-in for all the detailed documentation and paper trails demanded. There's a realization of value, future-focused leaders, having a strategic direction for the program, having the right culture, exploiting insights, being able to manage uncertainty, and having a system that's adaptable to change. And finally, to be systematic. So what do I mean by 2 sides and 3 teams? Let me explain. Well, there's the innovation side and there's the venture side. These go hand in hand. For innovation to succeed, both sides have to work in harmony. There's no good coming up with great ideas and great business plans or business cases if there's no one to implement them, and vice versa. The innovation side comprises the innovation team, that is, the entrepreneurs. These are the people who pump out the ideas, verify them, and prepare business cases for them. The venture side, however, comprises the implementation team, and these may be an internal team from a project department or an external team, or may even have some overlap with the innovation team. And this all depends on the company itself and its size. But it also has the oversight committee or steering committee, or to use American terminology, the growth board. These are the people who control the purse strings and decide what works and what doesn't work. Within the innovation team should be the leader and some career entrepreneurs. The team should be as diverse as possible so to generate the maximum number of ideas and projects. And they should operate entrepreneurially, if at all possible. This entrepreneurial thinking should begin with brainstorming, particularly using the innovation source map, and right through project selection, risk analysis, and then the validation process, creating a business plan or a business case. The implementation team will depend on the capabilities of the business. whether it has the staff or the necessary skills to implement the innovation projects. For example, a projects department or a division of the projects department. If not, then the use of external contractors or consultants or specialists will be needed, or even a partnership struck up for an open innovation program with other companies. The third team will be more part-time, convening monthly or quarterly to review progress on projects, allocating further funding where deserved, and killing off projects that are not gaining traction or hitting the necessary milestones. This approach is called metered funding. It differs from traditional funding, which generally funds projects to completion, with contingency funds built in to ensure this. To clarify the difference between traditional funding and metered funding, traditional funding would typically be done under an annual budget with full project approval at the beginning of the year and contingency funds built into each project to ensure completion. Whereas in the metered funding, projects are funded in phases, and as an idea is de-risked and shows evidence of traction and viability, more funding is given to the project. The project reviews under traditional funding may only be at particular milestones or at the end of the project, whereas with metered funding it's at each phase, and each phase has to fight for survival. And the review type in traditional funding is most often, if ever, a post-audit at the end of the project. Whereas with metered funding, it's build, measure, learn, it's continuous all the time. Another way of looking at metered funding is through a timeline diagram showing a program of projects over a particular fiscal period. Here we can see how funding is released on a phased basis, who is getting it, and who is being killed off, and what new projects are being started under each phase. Now you might say that's all very well for large companies who might have a surplus of staff available, but what about small and medium enterprises? And yes, you have to cut your cloth to suit your measure. So team sizes will vary depending on the size of the company, obviously. So a small company may have just a team of 1 to 3 in the team, some of which might be part-time. It's seconded from other departments, whereas a large company might have permanent or full-time staff. The growth board in a small company might be just the owner himself or 1 or 2 senior managers, whereas a large company might be 5 or 6 senior managers. And again, the portfolio of projects will depend on the size of the company too. Small companies might only be able to come up with 5 to 10 depending on their in-house capabilities. A large company might come up with anything up to 100 projects. In summary then, an innovation management system has 2 sides to get from idea to delivery of the final product or service. This diagram summarizes the process. It shows the innovation team carrying out all the functions of the innovation side, and the growth board and implementation team carrying out all the functions of the venture side. We'll discuss this later in the workshop in more detail.